On this first question, it was super easy. I gave you this quadratic trinomial standard form function, and it says it has the a value of what? All you got to do is know that a standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. You have to know that. Where your a is in front of your x squared, your b is in front of your x, and the c is not with any x. It's just a number by itself. So it's pretty simple. The a value is -3. The b value is +1 because there's no number in front of it. And the c value is -5. So a is -3, b is +1, and c is -5. The next question is ridiculously easy as well. I give you a standard form quadratic trinomial equation, and I ask you, will this open up or down? It'll open down. Why? Because the a value is negative. The a value is negative. So that means that it's going to open down. Imagine that, a parabola that opens down, right? And then it says, which means that it will have a blank vertex value. So will that vertex, will it be a maximum or a minimum? Maximum, because if it's opening down from left to right, it's going up, 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 up until it reaches a maximum point, then it goes down. So the maximum height of this parabola is right here at the y value of the vertex. So that will be maximum. And then last but not least, it will cross the y-axis at, well, since we don't have the actual graph of the parabola, we know it opens down, but we don't have the actual graph of the parabola. We need to understand how to find the y-intercept, right? It's saying cross the y-axis. That means that you want to find the y-intercept. And how do you find the y-intercept? You set x equal to 0 and solve, okay? Now, that will be the coordinate 0, comma, because you're setting x equal to 0. That's the first value is x. So you're going to plug in 0 into that x and into that x, right? And that's super easy on a standard form because when you have a 0 here and you square it, it's still 0 times -3 is still 0, plus another 0 here is still 0, and 0 minus 5 is -5. So the y-intercept location is 0, -5. Now, if they ask for the coordinate, that's what you would type in, 0, -5. Or on the drop-down menu, in this case, it's just going to be selecting the -5 option because that's where it crosses the y-axis. On this question, I give you another quadratic trinomial equation, and I give you a bunch of different details and ask you if it's true or false, right? So you got to select all the true statements. The first one right here, it says the vertex is -1, 1. Well, we need to find the vertex, and in order to do that, we need to write the vertex equation. Again, the vertex is a coordinate, an x value and a y value. You're going to find the x value using this formula. Whenever you use this formula, rewrite it with a negative parenthesis over 2 times parenthesis. That way you could easily identify your b value and your a value. The b value is 4, the a value is -2. When you do the math, -4 up on top and a -4 on the bottom as well. When you divide -4 by -4, that'll give you a +1. And we just found the vertex x value. The vertex x value is +1. That's what it says here. X equals, and it equals 1. So we found the x value of the vertex. If you ever have an x value and you want the y value, all you have to do is plug in the x value. So plug it into the original. The original reads y equals -2x squared plus 4x minus 3, and you're going to take the x value of 1 and plug it right into the x's, which means that you're going to put them right into the parentheses. It's very important that you rewrite it with parentheses first. That way you don't make a mistake when you actually plug in the x value that you're plugging in. Now you could type this in exactly the way it is on the calculator, and it'll give you the final y value of your vertex. Or you could use PEMDAS. First you start with parentheses, then you move on to exponents. 1 times 1 is 1. But then you still have to multiply it by the -2 in the front. So that'll give you a -2. And then you could multiply the 4 times 1. That'll be a 4, but with the plus sign in front of it. And then you could also bring down that -3 So what we really have here is y equals negative 2 plus 4, that's 2, and 2 minus 3 is negative 1. So y equals negative 1, okay? The y value, negative 1, is the y value of the vertex. So the y value is negative 1. Okay, so we just did all this work to find the vertex just to prove that that's not the true statement. So you would not pick that guy, that's false. The vertex is positive 1, negative 1, not negative 1, positive 1. Okay, moving on. The above parabola opens down, which means the vertex is a maximum value of the parabola. Does it open down?
Yes.
Yes. Why? Because it's negative, right? The a value is negative. If it's negative, it opens down. If it's positive, it opens up. And if it does open down, you could do a little sketch of a parabola opening down. That vertex will be the highest point, right? If you throw something up in the air, it's going to reach a maximum value, then come back down. So this is a true statement right here. The above parabola opens down. Why? Because the a value is negative, which means the vertex is a maximum value. That's true. The range value. Well, remember that in order to state the range, you have to know your vertex. So it's good that we actually found the vertex. And the range will be y is less than, because it's opening down, y is less than the y value of your vertex. So y is less than the y value of vertex, less than or equal to, so that is a true statement, okay? And the axis of symmetry will be x equals the x value of your vertex, which in this case is positive 1, so that's also a true statement. And last but not least, the y-intercept is this location. Well, how do you find the y-intercept? You set x equal to 0, and if you set these x's equal to 0, everything becomes 0, and 0 take away 3 really is negative 3, so that's also a true statement. So all of them were true except for the original vertex that they gave you that was false. Here's a really easy question, not equation. It says, state the axis of symmetry of the parabola. Please type in your answer with no spaces between your terms. Well, we should know that the axis of symmetry comes from the vertex. On the wall, we have the vertex, and right below we have the range, which comes from the y values of the vertex, and the axis of symmetry that comes from the x values of the vertex. So the axis of symmetry comes from the x value of the vertex. As you could see, the x value is 3, so you type in x equals 3, and that is the correct answer for the equation of the axis of symmetry. That would look like this green vertical line crossing right through that vertex. X equals 3. Stating the range, we should know that the axis of symmetry comes from the x value of the vertex, and the range comes from the y value of the vertex, right? It's pretty simple. The domain are your x values, the range are your y values. So if I'm asking for the range of this parabola, I'm really asking for the y values of this parabola. As you could see, the vertex is here, and that has a y value of negative 1. And the parabola doesn't exist at the y value of negative 2 or negative 3. It doesn't exist down here at negative 5 or at negative 10. It does exist at negative 1 and above. So how do you say that the parabola exists at the y value of negative 1 and above? You write that down as y is greater than or equal to that y value of your vertex. So y is greater than or equal to negative 1. So I want to explain this one nice and slow, because without finding the vertex correctly, you can't do anything. You can't graph it. You can't find the axis of symmetry. You can't state the range. You need the vertex correct to be able to answer anything else about a parabola or the graph of the parabola. So first, we're going to begin with the actual word vertex. And the vertex is a location. It's the most important point. So it's really an x value and a y value. It's a coordinate. That vertex is the maximum or minimum value of your parabola, depending on if it opens up or down. But the formula that you're going to use is x equals negative b over 2 times a. And I also want you to do this, negative parenthesis over 2 times parenthesis. Okay? I even posted it on the wall. Vertex, it's a coordinate. Here's a formula. And I would also want you to write this down, equals negative parenthesis over 2 times parenthesis. Okay? Anyway, So now we could actually plug in the b value of negative 10 right into that top parenthesis and the a value of positive 1 down in that bottom one. And the c value we don't care about because the c value is not in the formula. So let's do this correctly. Up on top, we have a minus 10. That becomes a positive 10. And on the bottom, we have a 2 times 1, which is a 2. So what do we have here? We have a 10 divided by 2. That is a 5. What did we just find? The x value of the vertex. So here's the x value, the first number. That's a 5. Now, we know x equals 5. How do we find the y value? How do we find the y value of the vertex if we know the x value being 5? You plug it in. Where are you going to plug it in? Into the x's. Why the x's? Because this says x equals 5. So here are some x's. We're going to plug in the 5 right into those x's. So the safe way to do that would be to rewrite the original y equals x squared minus 10x plus 5, and then plug in your x value of 5 into those parentheses. 5 right there, 5 right there. So when you do the math here, you could type all of this into a calculator, the scientific calculator, exactly the way it is, and it'll give you the y value. Or you could actually follow PEMDAS and do 5 squared is 25, 10 times 5 is 50, and of course there's a minus sign right in front of it. And the plus 5, you could bring that down. So now you really have y equals 25 take away 50. That'd be a negative 25. And then bring down the plus 5. That means that y equals negative 20. Okay? So let me actually make a little bit more space for this. And put y equals negative 20. So we just found the y value of the vertex. So that's what you would have to type in to get full credit. 5, or open the parenthesis, 5 comma, negative 20, close parenthesis, no spaces between your terms, and that's a vertex. So on this question, it says state the range, and the range are your y values of your vertex. I mean, not of your vertex, of the parabola. So let's start by finding the vertex, because in order for you to know whether the parabola is at a certain value on above or at a certain value on below, in order for you to know that, you need to know the vertex, because you're not going to be able to find this point right here without actually stating the vertex. So the vertex is super important. You need to be able to find the vertex for the majority of these questions. So let's begin by finding the vertex. The vertex is a coordinate to x and a y value. You find the x value using the formula x equals negative b over 2 times a. When you use it, please write it as negative parenthesis over 2 times parenthesis. Then you could identify your b value and your a value. The a value is simple. It's the number in front of x squared, which is a 1. The b value might make some of you confused, because the b value is always with the x term, right? It's always y equals ax squared plus bx, and then plus c at the very end. And as you can see, there is no bx term. There's only a c without the x. So there is no bx term. That means that there is no x's. There's an x squared, but there is no x's, which means that the b value is actually 0. And that makes it really easy, because you end up with a negative 0 divided by 2, and 0 divided by any number is still 0. So the vertex x value we just found out was 0. And to find the y value, all you have to do is plug in 0 and do the math. 0 squared is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1, y equals 1. So the y value is 1, okay? So I did that without showing my work. I hope you understood that. So the vertex is 0, 1. Let's imagine where that would be on the xy plane. 0 on the x, 1 on the y. So it would be, if you do a sketch of it, here's the vertex 0, 1, okay? That red dot. Now, it does open up because the a value is positive. So you could think of it, or you could even draw a sketch of it opening up. And then you got to ask yourself, what is the range? The range are your y values of your graph. This parabola does not exist at the y value of negative 5 or negative 2 or negative 1 or even at the y value of 0. It starts existing at the y value of 1 and above. So how do we say that the range is at the y value of 1 and above? You say the range is y is greater than or equal to that y value of 1. And just to remind you, the range is always greater than or equal to that y value of 1, or maybe less than or equal to if it's opening down, right? So the greater than, that comes from the a value being positive. If the a value were negative, it'd be opening down, which would make that a less than or equal to. Anybody have an idea on how to find the axis symmetry here? Find the vertex. Again, right? The vertex is so important. On the majority of the questions, you're going to have to find the vertex. Not all, but the majority. So again, let's find the vertex. The vertex is a coordinate. It's a location on the xy plane. You're going to find the x value of that coordinate using the formula x equals negative b over 2 times a. When you use the formula, please rewrite it as negative parenthesis over 2 times parenthesis. Then identify your b value of negative 10 and your a value of positive 1, and the c value, it's not in the formula. So you plug in your b value of negative 10, plug in your a value of positive 1, and what you end up with is a positive 10 up on top, because a negative and a negative becomes a positive, over 2 times 1, which is 2. So that's really 10 divided by 2, which is 5. So we just found out that x equals 5. The x value of the vertex is 5. How do you find the y value? If you already know the x value, you simply plug it in. However, we don't need the y value of the vertex to state the axis of symmetry. It says on the board that the axis of symmetry equation is simply x equals the x value of your vertex. So that's all we need to know, that the axis of symmetry equation is x equals the x value of the vertex. So x equals 5 is what you type in, with no spaces between your terms, and you'll get full credit. How would you find the y-intercept? Anybody remember that? It's on the board if you don't remember. How do you find the y-intercept of any graph? It doesn't even have to be a parabola. Set x equal to 0 and solve, right? The y-intercept is simply the location of where your graph's going to cross the y-axis. So when you think about graphing, let's say this is your parabola opening down like that. Where does it cross the y-axis? Right there at that location. Okay. Now that's not the case on this one, but I just wanted to give you a visual of what does it mean to find the y-intercept. It's the location of where your graph will cross the y-axis. So how do you find that? To find the y-intercept, you have to set x equal to 0 and solve. Okay, so technically the location of where it crosses is going to have the x value of 0. And we need to find the y value. So how do we set the x to 0 and solve? You simply rewrite it. Y equals negative 2x squared plus 4x minus 3, and plug in that 0 right in there. And technically, you don't even need to show any work, because you could do all this in your head. 0 squared is 0, negative 2 times 0 is 0, 4 times 0 is 0, 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 take away 3 is negative 3. So this is your y-intercept, right? 0 comma negative 3. On a standard form quadratic trinomial, it's always going to be 0 comma whatever the c value is. But for any equation, all you got to do is go through the process of setting x equal to 0 and solving. Here's another question. Again, they want the y-intercept, and to find the y-intercept, you set x equals to 0 and then solve. You would do that by replacing your x's first with parentheses, and then setting those x's equal to 0, and then doing the math. And it's always going to come out to become 0 comma the c value of your vertex, which in this case is the negative 6. Okay. If we do this math, yes, 0 squared is 0, and then 2 times 0 is still 0. Then you have plus 4 times 0 is still 0, minus 6 at the very end. It's going to be y equals negative 6. So when I'm finding the y-intercept, it's going to be the location of where it crosses the y-axis. We did set the x value to 0 to be able to solve for where it crosses the y, and it crosses in this case at negative 6. So if you type in the coordinate 0, comma, -6 in parentheses with no spaces between your terms, you get full credit on this question where it asks you to state the y-intercept.